Hey everybody, we're back for another exciting episode of Are You Effin' Serious? As usual, I'm your boy JC from Jersey, and this is my co-host Tex.
What's going on, folks?
So this week we got some big stories for you, so we're going to lead off with one of Tex's favorite topics, fashion.
Yes. You know your boy loves fashion, Christian Dior, Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Hermes, all that stuff, High fashion, definitely. But one of the brands that's actually making the news right now is actually Dolce & Gabbana. Now, why is Dolce & Gabbana making news, you ask? Well, it's actually because they made some comments in regards to the gays. Would you care to give us a little more information on that, JC?
Oh, absolutely, Tex. Well, Dolce & Gabbana is under fire now because the creators, Dolce & Gabbana, have said, gays adopting children and lesbians having in vitro fertilization, it's not natural. It's bad. And considering they're gay, knocking gays, there's a lot of backlash. Hollywood is considering a boycott.
And the thing is, I would not be surprised at all. Seeing as how 90% of the people that they have in their ads are gay, seeing as how that 99% of the people that wear their clothes are gay or bisexual, it seems hard that, for a company that's essentially built itself up on the back of homosexuals to go ahead and basically say, hey, you know what? We'll take your money, but we really don't support what you're trying to be about. Seems definitely off-putting in a lot of ways. What's the word I'm looking for?
Disingenuous?
Fuck sticks? I was thinking more like fuck sticks.
Oh, okay.
I'd say like you should eat a big bag of dicks. They probably like that, so you should eat a big bag of pussies because you shouldn't do shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I were to come out trying to say I want young urban people to watch the show, listen to my music, and listen to my comedy, and then after I start making millions of dollars, it's like, well, I don't care if young urban people watch my stuff. Fuck them. What? It doesn't make sense. It's ignorant. It is completely ignorant. Shame.
I wish I could add more to it. I'm not a high fashion guy, but I will tell you, it sounds weird. And yes, a lot of people into fashion that have a lot of disposable income, a good percentage of them are gay. So what are you going to do? You're going to knock your fan base? Not smart.
It's not.
By any means.
And the thing is, I believe there's going to be a statement, a retraction or a correction or something that's going to come out because you're going to realize that they've stepped in a lot. I don't know if they've ever, maybe just because they're the gay couple that's happy with not, having children or something like that. There's other ones that are. They have to realize that maybe they're not the majority. They may be the minority there.
I know Elton John took him to task and talked a lot of shit about him. And they said Madonna, who has a big gay fan base, took him to task. There's a lot of celebrities out there just say boycott.
Because you have to think about it, though. In the entertainment industry, where, again, and now a lot of people are going to think I'm being facetious when I throw out this number. But in the entertainment industry, where you have 99.8% of that population being homosexual or bisexual, it is, it's a very large market, to ostracize.
I can completely understand. Now, both of us have lived in Hollywood, spent our time several years in Hollywood, and we can both tell you that's fairly accurate. How many gay women and men live in Hollywood? A majority. How many are in the industry? A majority. That's why I always tell people.
And are in control.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Not that are just in the industry, but that are in control of the things that are happening. The major players.
Absolutely. I always say bigoted people should not move to Hollywood. Let me tell you why. Mexicans, Jews, gays, a lot of black people. If you're a bigot, don't waste your time. Please.
You shouldn't.
Don't. You're going to fuck with yourself. You're going to probably want to shoot yourself in the head because all the people you don't like are going to be there.
And not only that,
just breaking that to you.
A lot of them are going to be in very powerful positions and situations as well, too.
And if you don't like them, you're going to get one of these.
It's definitely a culture shock for people that aren't, familiar with it. And I throw this out there for anybody that is looking to get into the entertainment industry. You have to be comfortable in your own sexuality, to even handle and to be in that industry because you're going to get those unwanted advances and stuff like that. And you're going to, be in those situations where it's like, hey, if you want this role, this is what you're going to have to do. And I'm not saying it's like that everywhere and all the time, but it is like that a lot of times in a lot of places. So, Dolce Gabbana is definitely, hurting themselves in the long run with this move right here.
That's good. So we're going to move on to an NFL story. quarterback Tim Tebow
Mm-hmm.
is being recruited by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Jesus freak in the city of brotherly love.
Now, he spent some time training with Tom Brady's personal trainer, Tom House. And Tom House says, we rehabilitated him here. We taught him from scratch. We spent 18 months teaching this young man what the game is like. Now, Tim is 27. He hasn't played in about 2 years. Now, Tom House says this guy's good. He can play at a high level now. 18 months with me, and now he's at that level. And this is Tom Brady's personal coach and trainer. So what do we think about this?
I think you got to be the fucking biggest idiot in the world to think that 18 months is going to change anything. Number one, they say that in order to become a professional, you have to spend at least 10,000 hours doing something. And so Tim Tebow has been playing football, middle school, high school, college, and then in the NFL. So he's had enough time in order to go ahead and get acclimated to the game in order to become either proficient at it or not. Now, here's my thing. You're going to tell me that this fucker has been playing football this long and doesn't know how to fucking throw a ball, how to read or run plays, but after working with you for fucking 18 months, now this motherfucker's a godsend?
I would think after 18 months with a trainer, he's probably in the best shape he's ever been in. But being in the best shape you ever be in doesn't mean you're going to play at that high level. He's probably in great shape, but that doesn't mean that he can throw a football fucking 70 yards.
And the thing is,
That doesn't mean,
the Tampa Bay is my team. A lot of people, always talk a lot of shit about Tampa Bay, but I always like to tell people when they say we need to get this player or that player, so on and so forth. For the longest time, people say you need a quarterback, and I would always tell them, you know what? We're a run-based offense. We could have Joe Montana on the field where he could throw the ball 50, 60 yards or whatever.
That's incredible.
But it's not going to make a difference if we keep running the ball. And so the thing is that to think that a quarterback is going to make a big change on a team is far-fetched, number one.
You don't think so?
I don't.
Not at all.
Number two, to think that, again, what was it that made him good enough to be drafted, but not good enough to be kept? And now you're saying that you've worked with him, and now he's going to be good enough. I don't think it's fair.
Could it be he was just marketed well? He's just a semi-good-looking white guy that's religious? It was a gimmick. No disrespect to religion, but it seemed like a gimmick to me.
I think, honestly, I had to say it. I think he was an average player that receives some very good breaks. And I believe being trained, by Tom Brady's personal, trainer or coach, I think that's something that could help him. But at the same time, I mean, what's he learning? Is he learning how to, flatten footballs? I mean, is he learning how to, sneak stuff? I mean, or is she learning, again, the fundamentals of the game that he should have learned already before he even got drafted? Because if he wasn't good enough then to stay on these teams, he shouldn't have been good enough to be drafted in the first place.
So you think the Eagles are just desperate?
I think the Eagles are looking to. I think the Eagles are looking to stay relevant. They're looking to have somebody, to have some attention on them. And if people think that they're going to be getting a quarterback that's new and improved, then a lot of people are going to want to, start buying the Eagles merchandise, and wide receivers and running backs are going to start looking to come to that team again. But ever since Andy Reid left, I mean, again, I'm not an Eagles fan. I can't tell you exactly what they do and how they do. What I can say is Tim Tebow and the Eagles, to me, does not sound like a good fit.
I will say, growing up in South Jersey, which is 80% of the Eagles fan base is South Jersey, Philadelphia mostly. I grew up in that land of everybody's an Eagles fan, and I'll tell you, some people are really excited about this.
Okay.
They're hoping that's their savior. They're like, he can save us. He can bring us to the playoffs. He can bring us a ring. And that's what everybody gives a fuck. They don't give a fuck about merchandise. They give a fuck. Does this motherfucker got us a ring? Are we going to have a parade? Are we going to have our jerseys on going, motherfucker, Philly is the number one team, son?
I don't think so.
I don't think they are either, but they're going to hype it.
Well, I mean, he can hype it all day, but you know what? In the end, you know what I'm saying? I don't even think that, it's one of those things because, again, for, Tom to say that, I worked with him, I made him better, and I did all this. It just makes you, are you effing serious?
I guess he thinks somebody that's famous as coach can make you a star. Now, in some cases it's worked, but in other cases it's like anything. If I don't have it in me, I think it's the matter of if I don't have the physical ability in me, it doesn't matter who's coaching me.
Exactly.
Right? So we'll move on.
All right. So this next story is an abomination, in my opinion. Now, my opinion might not mean much to many of you, and that's fine. Because like everyone else, we all have opinions.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was a little kid, my dad used to say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. Now, as I got older, I added a line to that. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. And some of them stink. So, we all know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that they've been around since the early 80s. Yeah. That they've had a lot of different revisitations, and rebranding of them, where they've been made to look different ways, so on and so forth. So, through this process, the comic book for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has been, going on in print and so on and so forth. And recently, they've made a decision in this comic book that I'm just shocked and appalled about. Would you like to go ahead and talk about this more? Because I'm feeling a little heart
sure,
sick
absolutely.
Right now, just thinking about
the
it.
writers of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Eastman and Laird. Now, Turtles has been a print comic book since 1984. Long running. In the new series, they decided, you know what? What's going to sell books? Let's have a character die. Now, as in the 1980s when Robin was killed in the Batman series,
right.
and Superman in the 1990s, they said, what if one of the Turtles dies? So the smart one, Donatello, in the storyline, I'm not going to give the entire story, but the Shredder's henchmen, Rocksteady and Bebop, kill Donatello.
It's crazy.
And the comic book world is like, is that a good idea? Is this just a hook to come back in a year with new stories? Is this just dumb? What is it?
I think it's a very dumb move. Only because, like you said, for the longest time, that the whole storyline and everything is based off the four of them. Mm-hmm. The only way that I think that you'd be able to kill off one of these turtles is if it were at the end of the original series and you were to start something new going forward. Where maybe it was 3 turtles and then maybe they picked up, somebody else as a 4th. Maybe another mutant, or, like I said, maybe Casey Jones, becomes a permanent member. But it's like, killing off Donatello is one of the dumbest, stupidest, fucking dumbass, are you effing serious moves you could ever make when it comes to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like we were talking earlier, Splinter has been killed off plenty of times. Like, you can kill Splinter, you can kill essentially anyone in this whole fucking world that the Turtles are in, except any of the fucking Turtles. It's like, it doesn't fucking make sense.
It really doesn't. But at the same time, comic, like I said, the big deal was in the 1980s, the second Robin was murdered by the Joker. When DC did a vote, because the second Robin was said to be annoying, so people voted, over an 800 number back in the day. Kill Robin, let him live. They killed him off. Joker cut his throat or something.
Right.
So, same thing. Superman was murdered, and then he had a big return the next 3 years. They did like a whole series of comics, him coming back from the grave. So is this just a publicity stunt? I
mean, but sometimes it's also the matter of where they kill somebody off, and then they also, bring it back to showcase them in another point in their life.
Yes.
And that could be that could be the other side. They're going to go ahead and kill Donatello off, but then they're going to go ahead and maybe turn the comic now to talk about, again, a different section or point in their life. So that way, essentially, everything is going to be in the past. Kind of like they do with anime. So it's like they show that where we are in the present, but then now everything from there is all in the past. So maybe it'll be past adventures and past stuff like that. Which could be nice because there were a lot of stories and stuff that we wanted to see that they didn't really touch on. But I mean, as a whole, I don't think that killing Donatello. I mean, and then the other side of it for me is, I hate to say it, okay. Of all the turtles to kill, he's probably the one that's going to be the one that you can kill where you're going to get the least shit. Because if you would have killed Michelangelo or Donatello, like, you're going to lose readers.
I think you mean
top.
Raphael, because you said Donatello.
I mean, yeah, I did. I meant Raphael.
Yeah.
I had a little too much whiskey today. But the point is, if you would have killed Raphael or Michelangelo, you would have, like, a serious shitstorm of motherfuckers, like, what's going on? Hey, what's happening with this? Why are you trying to change it? But by killing off...
That's what happens when you shoot live, everybody.
Yeah, it is.
You have to deal with constant... I keep rolling. I don't care. So
all right, thank you.
We're going to keep rolling.
Yeah, but by killing off Donatello, you seriously, cause some serious problems there. And at least that's my, take on it right there.
Fair enough. We'll move on to our next story. Nintendo announces their NX, their new system. So this time around, they're going to have a new system that could probably compete with the PlayStation 4, and then they're going to shift their focus to smartphones. They want to put your games like Donkey Kong and Mario on smartphones. So what do we think about that?
Well, as a whole, as far as the new system, that's a zero fuck thing right there. No,
Even though different show, but zero.
I'm saying, like, well, it is. It is a different show. Too much whiskey. Maybe!
It happens.
Sorry! Alright. New system. Mm-hmm. I'm not excited about it. I'm not impressed about it.
Okay.
Don't care.
Wii U wasn't exactly a hit either. Mm-hmm. Neither was Wii that much.
I have a Wii.
So it's a
Don't even
nice
care.
little thing.
Now, the fact of them, trying to put all the old game catalogs so that they're available on your smartphone, I am very excited about that.
That's awesome. I would love to play. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. We talked about Disney Afternoon. I would love to play Rescue Rangers or Darkwing Duck on a smartphone.
Yep.
Or anything from the 80s. Even the Back to the Future game or the X-Men game or any of those.
See, you're again more recent than me. I'm thinking a little older. Like again, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game. I would love to play that on my phone. Contra. The Super Mario games.
Sure.
There was one in particular, Double Dragon, Ninja Gaiden, like all of those games. I would love to be able to have the capability to be able to pull out my phone and to play those. So I'm very excited about that. I'm super excited. But again, as far as the system itself, because they're going to bring this out to try to compete with PlayStation 4, and then essentially Sony's going to come out with PlayStation 5 or 6 in another year, 2 years, and then because you're going to have to keep trying to come up with new games to keep up with it, I'm not even going to worry about it. It's just a matter of if Nintendo is able to make this transition where they make these games available on your smartphone through an app or whatever the case is, that is going to be the new look and the new generation of gaming right there. Being able to get games on your phone and play them there without having to without actually having to buy the system.
Sounds good.
That's going to be the next big thing.
And they also announced their stock went up 30% after the Christmas sales came in.
Okay.
So but is a Black Friday kind of bumps them up, the announcement of a new system? I don't know. It could be anything, but I'm happy for Nintendo. We said, the story from a couple weeks ago, the CEO of Sega Genesis said not taking the PlayStation hurt them and Nintendo. I think it did. Nintendo, I hope you make a comeback.
And like you said, it's not so much a comeback. I think it's a matter of rebranding, it for a newer market. I'm saying, a younger generation. And like you said, if they start repackaging and remaking the games so that they look new, like the newer games, you're gonna get a lot of the people that play games are gonna like the Nintendo games because of the types of games they were, like Spy Hunter, Frogger, Cubert, like stuff like that. They're just classic games that you just can't get enough of. So I definitely believe that's going to be successful.
I really think they should have did what Atari did. When Atari went out of business, they went strictly into the gaming market. They made games like Dragon Ball Z games and stuff like that. Atari manufactures games now instead of systems. Nintendo should focus more on manufacturing games for the PS4 and the Xbox One instead of system, in my opinion.
But the thing is like they have such a limited market to choose from because all they're doing is basically looking at the games that have been made that were successful, and then games that have had sequels that were successful, and they're basically trying to come up with new versions of that instead of coming up with something new.
Yeah. And
so that's why I think going back to the old games is what's going to really help them there. To basically reintroduce themselves to a new market. It's kind of like when like the Wu-Tang album that's coming out, somebody's going to auction and win it, and then they're not going to be able to release it to the public for 88 years. So essentially, like,
oh wow, yeah,
all the people like myself that are definitely diehard Wu-Tang fans that want to hear this album, essentially, I'll be dead and gone by the time it's released. And so essentially, it's going to be introducing Wu-Tang to a whole new generation. So I think it's a really good idea, but I just hope that they don't choose to leave out the ones that grew up on it first. Like, I hope Wu-Tang decides to go ahead and, release that album so that I can hear it. I hope that when Nintendo does decide to do this with these games that, they do it in a manner so that even if I don't have a smartphone, I might be able to still go ahead and get these experiences at a cheaper rate. Because even if they brought out the original Nintendo system, they just updated it, I'd be happy with that.
So would I. I've even bought the attachments they have now, where you have a cartridge attachment and you can put Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis. They have those for years now. They're fun.
Yeah,
definitely fun. So we'll move on to our last story.
Yes, yep.
the movie industry is always an interesting industry, and who's playing who in a biopic always seems to come up. Now, Marlon Wayans was originally touted, and Nick Cannon to play Richard Pryor. Now, those gentlemen didn't get the job. Mike Epps did.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we're Richard Pryor fans, so we have a lot to say. Eddie Murphy is also playing Richard's father. So, in about 2 years, this movie will come out. What do we think about Mike Epps as the legendary Richard Pryor?
I'm surprised, but I am happy. I think it was more, you know what I'm saying, than just the look thing. I think it was, you know, like Marlon Wayans, I think, would have had some, but I don't think he would have been able to have Richard's full charisma.
Okay.
I think that Nick Cannon might have had it in the acting area, but not as far as the comedic element of Richard.
Okay.
And to be honest, I think the only one that would be able to do both is Mike Epps. I believe he is the best choice. Eddie Murphy playing Richard Pryor's father. Seeing this how throughout his career, movies, books, and everything else, they've never really mentioned Richard Pryor's father. So to see him being portrayed in this movie seems weird.
Maybe they just want Eddie Murphy to do something.
And that's the other side of it too.
I
think it's kind of the role. I think it's kind of a role where they were like, hey, you know what, we're going to try to focus on something that people haven't seen or really known about. And it's the matter of we want somebody where we know that people will watch.
I could kind of say the same thing. You know, the movie Walk the Line about Johnny Cash. I'd never heard anything about Johnny Cash's father. And then to get the guy from Terminator 2 to play his father, that was an awkward choice. Right? Is it me or?
No, it's not you.
It was kind of weird.
And that's it. You know, they look to get these people to play these roles because they think that the fans will want to see it. You know, we want to see Eddie in good movies. We want to see him in funny movies. But it's also the fact where, you know, just because he's in a movie doesn't mean we're going to go see it. Like Pluto Nash, for example.
Oh, absolutely. That what is 100 words or 1,000? Ain't nobody saw that shit.
Yeah.
I love you, Eddie, but no.
I mean, like I said, I hate to say it, I didn't see it until it came on TV.
Motherfuckers don't even know what Showtime is, and that movie's like 13 years old already.
Yeah. So it's a matter where I think it's going to be, you know, a good movie. Like I said, as long as they stick to, you know, Richard, you know, what made Richard being Richard, you know, the things he went through. As long as they don't focus on, you know, too much on the drug addiction, I think, you know, it'll be a real good movie. But like I said, I don't see how Eddie Murphy, you know, in the role as his father is really going to, you know, come into the play as a whole. But
I hope it's a good film. I mean, they had the Marlon Wayans audition tape. That's been leaked on the internet. There's had millions of hits already. You can check that out.
Right.
I thought it was okay. I mean, I love Marlon since the In Living Color days and all that stuff. But I don't think it was the right fit.
I mean, yeah, because I think he is more physical comedy. While, you know, Mike can do physical, but as a whole, you know, I think, you know, with him, it's more, you know, how he talks to you that's going to, you know, draw you in. And I think that's the same thing with Richard Pryor. You know what I'm saying? It was how he talked to you that drew you in. And that's why I think that Cannon wouldn't be, you know, a real good pick for that role.
Mike is a really talented guy. He recently got in trouble with comments. He was at the Sway in the Morning radio show. And he talked about how Kim Kardashian and Kevin Hart, right? They're famous, but they're really not that good at what they do. They're just kind of overhyped. And he said it. He said there's a lot of promotion. They're not as good as, say, real celebrities. They're just kind of thrown into your face. What do you think about that?
I mean, but it's very true. I mean, I remember when I first entered into the entertainment industry, I was singing. And I was just, you know, a young, average kid. But it got around that time when I started noticing that there were other singers that would basically be fast-tracked. And a lot of the times, I was the better singer, but they had, you know, the better following. You know, and a lot of times, I mean, I noticed that it really comes down to that physical thing, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I noticed that when I compare it, you know, physically, that, you know, they have six-packs, I don't. It doesn't mean that, you know, you have a six-pack, you're going to, you know, become famous or entertainer. But what it does mean is that you are able, you know what I'm saying, to get a better shot.
It's like that Marky Mark, you know, the guy got big. He was a model, and then he was a rapper, and then he was an actor. It's like, is Mark Wahlberg really the greatest entertainer ever?
And he's not.
No, just like he had that look.
Yeah, and that's what it was. He was able to play the everyman because when he first came out, it was all hip hop and this, that, and the third.
Yeah,
And then now he
same
switched
kind of
over. Marky Mark changed to Mark, and so
Mhm.
and that's the thing. I think it's a matter of, there are much more talented people out there, but because they don't have the look
Yeah.
that the industry is looking for to promote and to market, they get looked over or passed over. And the thing is, I mean, Kevin Hart, I mean, he's a tiny guy, but, he's built, he's in shape. So it's kind of like, I mean, if they were to do a live action Smurf movie with, people, he could play Papa Smurf with no problem. I mean, it's like, it's that thing, Same thing with, Kim. Kim is, not a talented person at all. You know what I'm saying?
But see, her fame was all based on her daddy being OJ's lawyer and her doing a porn tape.
No, that's where her fame.
Both of those things.
Her fame came from the fact of her fucking celebrities.
Okay,
and on tape.
But I mean, her wealth came from OJ Simpson, really.
Yeah, but I mean, we got to think about it. She wasn't really rich. Again, it was her dad that was rich. You know what I'm saying? I mean, her mom, she was taken care of as a whole, but I mean, like, she didn't have anything until that videotape leaked.
And then what of Ray J? Ray J never really. He's known, but he was never more than Brandy's brother.
Like I was saying before, Ray J was in that sophomore class of, entertainers where he never, really graduated more. Mm-hmm. I mean, child actor, put out an album, but aside from, dating famous women, little Kim Kardashian, stuff like that, he really hasn't done anything himself. Even the reality show he was on. Like I said, it didn't really, do anything for himself.
I haven't seen it. What was it about?
It was like, trying to find chicks to be his girl. Dating all these different chicks.
Can we get a new format for these reality shows at least? Like, I'm good with watching them. Can we get some new formats? Somebody does something besides date or fix a house or take a shit or throw a bottle or...
But as a whole, that's what we look at. We look at the fact that, a lot of people are talented, but it's the fact of who do we want to see, And a lot of people want to see that drama now. And so, Kevin Hart is real good with, appearing to be dramatic even when he's not. Mm-hmm. And, Kim Kardashian, the stuff that happens when she's on TV, it appears to be oh so dramatic even when it's not. So I think that's really, what it is right now.
I'm left dumbfounded by the stupidity of some of the stories that we cover on the show.
It is.
But that's why you have to be.
That's what y'all want to hear, so that's why we give it to you.
Definitely.
So, again, we want to thank you for tuning in to, this latest episode of Are You Effing Serious? Again, if you have any ideas, comments, thoughts in regards to topics that we should cover on the show, we would definitely love to hear from you. You can go ahead and reach out to us. Until then, once again, my name is Tex.
I'm JC from Jersey, and you have a good night.
Godspeed.